Blazing Chrome is fucking hard. Hello trophy hunters, welcome to my newest video. This is Blazing Chrome, a retro side-scroller heavily influenced by the Contra series. I have really good memories of playing these games with my brother, the old Contra and Probotector series on the Super Nintendo. I'm pretty sure we completed it, and I was probably a liability, but man, it was really fun. These games have no health bar, one hit and you're dead. You literally have credits that run out, and when you run out of lives, you continue, and when you run out of continues, it's game over. You have to start all the way from the beginning. You run from left to right whilst the screen is swarming with enemies, and gunfire and projectiles are coming from all directions. And man, the bosses are usually big set pieces with patterns you need to learn, otherwise you are toast. If you guys enjoy a challenge and the nostalgia associated with classic run and gun games, then you might just find Blazing Chrome to be to your liking. Perhaps even without trophies in mind. But, you know, you're here, so you probably do have trophies on your mind, just like me. Let's move on to the breakdown and my plan of action. 25 bronze, 10 silver and 4 gold make up this game. And my plan is, I don't have one. I'm just gonna play it on normal, see how I do. Keep an eye out for any problem areas that might be troublesome for later playthroughs, because I know there's a speedrun in this game, and also a hard mode where you have very limited lives and continues. I'm looking forward to that one. So yeah, I'm just gonna load it up, play the 6 stages and see how I do. I am not doing very well. This game is bloody hard. Ambushes, enemies from all sides, just like Contra. You die constantly. The only saving grace for me is I have infinity continues. You get 5 lives and you get generous checkpoints. It's very forgiving in that regard, but the segments are brutal. The bosses themselves haven't been so bad. I find them easier than actually getting through the stages, because the stages is just spawns everywhere that I'm unfamiliar with. At least with the bosses, I can focus on the normally single target and kind of see what he's doing, see the patterns, so I'm learning in that regard. Looks like I'm getting trophies for completing each mission, so that's a nice little progression, and a couple of miscellaneous along the way. There's a few trophies we'll look to get naturally, I think, as you get trophies for getting X number of kills, X number of melee, X number of weapons collected, and battle bots, which are like your defensive items. All of these pickups are bloody useful. I'm going to have to learn where they spawn, what's best to use in what situation, but that's going to be for another run with more practice. On this normal one, I'm just getting through, whacking myself against a brick wall until I come out on the other side. It was interesting that you can play missions 1 to 4 in any order, and then you unlock missions 5 and 6. I think the hardest mission is probably mission 2, although there's some really difficult segments in them all. I'll have to have a think about it. But overall, I must have died over 100 times, I estimate. It's gotta be in that number. I was dying every screen, every boss, every ambush, everywhere. Just dying. But I did complete it, so through all that pain, I made progression. And I got 2 trophies for completing it on normal and easy, because the difficulty ones stack, thankfully. So even that felt like quite a big accomplishment. Now I've unlocked mirror mode, and I've looked at the trophy list a bit. There's a trophy for completing the game with a melee character. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to use this Ninja Gaiden guy and get through the game in mirror mode, which is confusing as hell, but doesn't really make it harder. You're basically just going from right to left instead of left to right. I'm definitely going to do this run on easy. Now the main differences between easy and normal that I saw is you get 7 lives instead of 5, and also some enemy placements were different. You still die in one hit, it's still got that difficulty, but you get much more legroom to die a few more times, and that just sounds lovely. I didn't learn anything about the weapons in this playthrough because the melee character, he just has like this blade wave, which is really cool. So I tried to keep an eye out where the defense bots are, and keep an eye on the bosses a bit more in this playthrough as well. All these playthroughs are adding up to the knowledge that I'm going to need for the speedrun, the hardcore mode, and the boss rush. Ooh, okay, now we're getting serious. Time for the first main practice of actually being good at this game. Perfect Soldier trophy, complete a level without dying. I used the Arnie robot guy and just repeat the first level. Very similar to what I did with Turtles, I just kept playing the first level until I learnt the spawns, learnt what to look out for, learnt a bit more about the weapons and the bot placements, and definitely the boss patterns in this mission. I actually managed to get the mech to the end of the level and beat the boss with it, which gave me a bronze trophy. I think there's a couple more like that, but I'll worry about them later. But yeah, thanks to that mech, which is able to tank a few hits and dish out damage, I was able to beat the boss and get the Perfect Soldier trophy. I'm actually going to look at the list in a little more detail now because I know there's so many miscellaneous, so I'm just going to get a few out of the way. Blow up 4 enemies with a grenade launcher? Check. Kill 4 enemies with the plasma rifle? Check. Explosive barrel? Nice. Wow, I had no fucking idea this weapon could do this, oh my god. That was enough of an enjoyable break from the hard trophies. Now it's time to try the boss rush mode, and I'm thinking Shovel Knight, Mega Man, Bloodstained, I love them all. I didn't realise how many sub-bosses were in this game, so you normally have to fight a mid-checkpoint boss and the final boss of each mission. This mode probably helped me the most in attempting hardcore. I managed to learn each boss pattern pretty much perfectly. You know, I was getting to the 6th or 7th or 8th boss every time without getting hit eventually, and then it just came down to the last few, which I, you know, had less practice on, so they took longer to learn. But this is definitely one of the most fun segments, maybe just for me, I don't know, but I really enjoy learning boss patterns and dodging at the right time, using the right weapon in the right situation. I mean, there's no question that the plasma rifle is the best weapon. It's just powerful and it can go through terrain and multiple targets, but also the realization that this mode gives you everything from the get-go. You get 5 lives, 3 continues, but you start with all the weapons. Now if you die, you lose the weapon until your next continue, so it kind of became a weapon management sim in what to use first, risk against reward, because if I die with that weapon, I'm not going to have it against the next boss, and man, some weapons are really good against certain bosses, that much is absolutely true. I got 2 trophies for doing this. I defeated a spider boss in less than 20 seconds, you can absolutely melt him at the start. And I actually completed the boss rush, which gave me Chrome Lord, another silver. Time for a speedrun. I had high expectations on how difficult this trophy would be, but it actually was very easy. Firstly, I played on easy, so that wasn't much of a surprise, but it became more about dying strategically at certain places so I didn't lose progress on continuing back at the checkpoint. So if I started a level with 1 life, I would purposely kill myself quick to then continue and then start with 7 lives again. So, you know, it kind of makes sense. And because I became so proficient at murdering most of the bosses quickly, I think 37 minutes, and that's with a lot of deaths still, because the levels themselves are still very hard to navigate. Time for the last break before the hardcore trophy. I have to, in missions 3 and 5, get the mechs to the end of the level. So once you get the mech, I've got to navigate the rest of the mission and beat the boss with them. Okay, stay with me here. If you press down and jump, you can do an invulnerability roll. Now if you do that in the mech, you can jump out of the mech and then it takes no damage. So actually you can clear segments where it's easier to be on foot and then jump in the mech to just carry on. So I basically did that. And especially against the bosses. Once you're against the boss, jump out the mech, melt him to the point of them having, you know, one hit left or a couple of hits. Jump in your mech and finish them off, you'll get the credit and the trophies. Still difficult because your mech can only take 2 or 3 hits before it blows up, so yeah, it was tough. But nowhere as tough as this last trophy. Colonel, complete the game on hardcore mode. Now even before that, I know what weapons do what in what situation. I know when best to use the battle bots, and the battle bots are really integral for these later runs, especially the defense module, which adds 2 rotating robots that act as a shield. I see them as literally 2 extra lives because they can tank a hit and it's a lifesaver. Useful as well is the speed module, which allows you to actually double jump. More often than not, me being faster actually got me in trouble, but the double jump comes in really handy against some of the bosses. This game has been amazing, and this mode really brings it out. It's just so brutal. 3 lives, 3 continues, and I haven't touched upon this, you can't save. So normally you can complete a mission, close the game and reload it later, right? That makes sense. You have to do this hardcore mode in one sitting, which, you know, from the speedrun is probably between 40 minutes and an hour. I lost so much time, and probably in like half an hour intervals at a time as well. It's really tough. Don't worry though, I do have some advice for you. Practice. Okay, that's terrible advice, but do you remember at the start of the video I said you don't have to do the missions in order? This means you can load up any of those levels over and over again on hardcore to practice. You just keep doing it until you know each screen. And another bit of advice is take your time. Hold R1, lock yourself in place and just shoot left and right until they stop coming. I think there's only a couple of segments where infinity enemies actually run at you. They will stop and you can safely move on. Mission 1 is the easiest level, so probably leave that till last. Mission 4 I also found easier than the others. It was mission 3 and 2 that I found the most difficult to start with. Then of course you've got no choice but to do 5 and then 6, both of which have difficult segments, but 6 is mainly just 2 or 3 bosses in a row. My last bit of advice is you actually gain lives as you progress. I'm not sure, I only noticed it in this mode, but it seemed to be every 100,000 points I'd get an extra life. Also, the collectible 1-ups, one of which is right before the final boss that you actually get a trophy for it as well by shooting the light. So other than those tidbits, you've just gotta use everything you've learned. The boss rush. I mean, boss rush is great practice when you just want to do each boss in a row anyway. I did do that a few times in between failed hardcore runs. I felt like I was just waiting for everything to go right, you know, beat a certain boss without losing 1 life and you feel, right, this is a good run. The 3D flying segment was problematic, you know, in other runs for me, but I managed to do that perfectly in a couple, and it made me feel really on track and that I had a chance to complete this. Every consecutive run I tried, I did something a bit better than the last run. It had such a great sense of progression. I felt I was actually getting pretty good at this game. So I'll paint a picture for you. Final mission, about to do the gorilla robot boss before the final boss. 1 life left. It actually is 2 lives because 1 and 0 count as lives. Regardless, 2 lives is not a great place to be. Let's see how I did. Well, fuck me, that was exhilarating. What a perfect, excellent game. It does exactly what it sets out to do, doesn't compromise any quality, and it's fantastic. There's nothing better than getting the platinum after such a difficult and a well-earned trophy. You know, I had to practice to get that hardcore trophy. And then you get to watch the credits. You just get to watch the credits and reflect on how you started the game and how it ended. That's one of my favourite parts of earning platinums. I am proud of this platinum, and it was fun to earn. Fun to learn as well, man. I really enjoyed the whole progression of this one. I hope you liked it too, and hopefully you'll catch me on my next one. So subscribe if you enjoyed, take it easy, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.